is the best fighter on the planet. Pound for pound, he's that dude. In this four-belt era, he is now the undisputed world champion 3 times over. 140 pounds, 147, now 168 pounds.
I gotta give it to him, Bud. The best, right? He hands down. He the best. He the best right now. I don't think nobody need to question him no more. I mean, you kind of got to give him his respect, no matter what. You got to give him his respect. He just went up 2 weight classes, what people said he couldn't do. He's doing everything that people say he can't do.
As you know, and I've been a 3 division world champion, but I've only won 1 of the belts. I don't know what it is to be undisputed. I don't know that feeling. Do you understand? What he did last night is unbelievable.
New Stephen A. Smith directly confronted Floyd Mayweather for downplaying Terence Crawford after his victory over Canelo Alvarez. Smith argued that Crawford accomplished something historic, pointing out that no fighter in history had ever become undisputed across multiple weight divisions the way Crawford has. He stressed that Crawford earned every ounce of his legacy and deserves universal praise rather than criticism. For Smith, Crawford's triumph over Canelo was not just another win. It was a defining moment that elevated him into the conversation with the all-time greats. He made it clear that Mayweather's negativity cannot overshadow such a monumental achievement.
Is the best fighter on the planet. Pound for pound, he's that dude. In this 4-belt era, he is now the undisputed world champion 3 times over. 140 pounds, 147, now 168 pounds, claiming all the belts. You don't see people doing that very often. Going up against a guy who was perceived as being bigger and stronger, Crawford was strong. Crawford was strong enough to fend him off, strong enough to make him respect his own power. He used his jab, he used his distance.
Jeff Mayweather shared strong views on the shock Crawford delivered to Canelo, emphasizing that the defeat would forever leave a mark on Canelo's legacy. In Jeff's words, Canelo was the undisputed king of the division, both in status and dominance. Yet he suffered a humbling loss to a man who dared to move up in weight and challenge him on his own turf. For Jeff, this was no minor blemish, but a lasting stain on Canelo's career. He stressed that champions are remembered for defining moments, and unfortunately for Canelo, his defining moment will always include the devastating loss to Crawford.
But either way, he was in discussion certainly with Chavez. What did this do to his legacy? Because I don't think he caught, the Floyd fight didn't give him, people didn't really look down on, because he was, even though he had 40 fights, he was still, fighting one of the greatest ever and an absolute master. And Bivol, he went up weight classes to win. But now he's fighting a smaller guy, a great fighter, but a smaller guy. Does this damage his legacy in any way?
I think it does. I think it does because, the one thing is that, you were ruling, you were the king of that weight class. And the king of that weight class for a good while. And I think that, he had a huge following because, he became the face of boxing.
And even though it's another, future Hall of Famer, still losing, losing a guy come up a couple weight classes, kind of makes you seem not as great as you might have been.
New Stephen A. Smith was in awe of Crawford's victory and did not hide his admiration. He reminded fans that he was there in person to witness this historic event, making it even more meaningful. According to Smith, no one in the history of boxing has achieved what Crawford just did, moving up in weight and dismantling a dominant champion like Canelo so convincingly. He called it a career-defining achievement that separated Crawford from every other fighter of this generation, ensuring that this night would live forever in boxing history. For Smith, this wasn't just a fight, but a monumental shift in how greatness is defined in the sport.
This was Terence "Bud" Crawford moving up 2 weight divisions, really 3 in my mind, because we only fought 1 fight at the junior middleweight division. So he's really moving up from 147 pounds, okay? Terence "Bud" Crawford moving up to the 168-pound limit in an effort to claim the undisputed super middleweight championship of the world from the grasp of Saul Canelo Alvarez. Now, I was there. I was there. Because let me tell you something right now. There's very, very few sporting events in the world that are better than a super fight in Vegas. I can tell you that right now. There's very, very few events. Props to Nick Khan of the WWE.
Crawford's trainer made it clear after the fight that his fighter has nothing left to prove. In his view, Crawford has reached a point where respect should be unquestionable, yet critics continue to withhold it. This frustration highlighted how, even after dismantling one of boxing's greatest champions, Crawford is still fighting battles outside the ring. His trainer stressed that Crawford is not focused on chasing another fight right now because what he did against Canelo is more than enough to cement his place in history. For him, this was never about names. It was about building a legacy that no one can deny.
Terence Crawford and his well-renowned trainer, two-time trainer of the year and future Hall of Fame trainer, Brian Bomac McIntyre, recently did an interview in which Bomac stated that a fight is not happening. And this particular fight is a fight that everybody wanted to see Canelo Alvarez take, and Canelo Alvarez refused to take this fight with a 28-year-old two-division world champion, reigning WBC light heavyweight, former two-time WBC super middleweight, the Mexican Ecuadorian superstar boxer, who's one of my favorite fighters and a great person, David, the Mexican Ecuadorian monster Benavidez, who has 30 wins, no loss, no draw, 24 wins by way of knockout, stands at 6'2" with a 75-inch arm reach, and fights at 175. But the entire time David Benavidez was fighting at 168, Canelo Alvarez was brought up, and he never accepted the fight. And so, with that said, now people are trying to project this fight on Terence Crawford, and they're saying that Terence Crawford needs to take the fight. So Bomac yesterday did an interview, and Bomac said they're not fighting David Benavidez. And so now people are pushing this notion that Terence Crawford is ducking and Terence Crawford is scared of David Benavidez. And if he don't fight David Benavidez, according to Boxing News 24,
Timothy Bradley gave one of the boldest takes, comparing Crawford directly with Floyd Mayweather. He argued that Crawford's name now belongs at the very top of any all-time greatest list. Bradley explained that this wasn't simply about beating Canelo, it was about redefining what pound-for-pound number one truly means. While Floyd mastered the art of boxing in his era, Bradley believes Crawford has shown he can do it at an even higher level by stepping up in weight and defeating Canelo at his absolute best. In Bradley's view, this win propelled Crawford into a realm reserved only for the sport's most legendary fighters.
It might be too late now. It might be too late, because guess what? He done. Ain't nothing else he needs to do. Ain't nothing else he needs to do in boxing. Yep, y'all doubt him now? Y'all doubt him now? I saw some of y'all goofies on y'all channels. You come here and you get the real over here. That's what you get over here. You want the real? You want a real breakdown from a real fighter, a Hall of Famer? That's what you do. You come right here and you gonna get the real, and you gonna get the truth. Dang it, that's what you gonna get. Leave them other lames alone and come right on over here. Yeah, and get the truth and nothing but the truth. I've been trying to tell y'all for years about this. Been trying to tell y'all for years about Terence Crawford. Everybody put his resume down.
Roy Jones Jr. offered a more measured perspective, pointing out that unlike when Floyd Mayweather fought Canelo years ago, this time both fighters were in their prime. He explained that Floyd had the advantage of facing a younger, less experienced Canelo, which allowed him to control the fight with skill and ring IQ. In contrast, Crawford faced a fully matured and seasoned version of Canelo, a man who had dominated his division for years. Despite being naturally smaller, Crawford dismantled him with precision. For Roy, that fact alone makes Crawford's victory extraordinary, because he overcame the most dangerous version of Canelo.
Generational great in Canelo Alvarez, really 3 weights above his natural weight class. Does that put him in the conversation with the likes of yourself as the greatest fighter of all time?
Yes, it does, and the reason it does is because he couldn't get the credibility down in his own weight class, so he went up to go challenge himself to fight it. And he found a very formidable, good opponent.
Do you think Canelo Alvarez is on the decline or not?
No, I don't think it's on decline at all.
So you think both fighters are still at their peak, even though they're 36, 37?
Yeah, I think they're both still at their peak. The age for Crawford would seem like he may be beyond it, but he hasn't had the fights, the tough fights we have put him there. And the years of boxing for Canelo would have put him in a position where they're about equal. So I think they both are pretty much in a great place. I think they're both still in their primes, and this is the best time to see them fight.